Heyo, Jojo here, and welcome to my playthrough of Ballads at Midnight, where we try to seduce a very smexy vampire. Keyword being try, because I suck at these kinds of things, so we'll try not to get my character killed. Yay! Prelude to Dawn, Chapter 1. Cool beans. My wrists itch. My stomach is churning and empty. My legs are sore. The swath of hemp fabric strung taut around my cheeks and tied in a knot behind my head is chafing against the corners of my mouth. It's a bitterness on my tongue. I idly wonder if it's the taste of regret. Possibly. My two armored escorts ride ahead of me, exchanging hushed words. I make a short, unhappy noise to contribute to the conversation. Huh, they ignore me. Of course they would. But are you sure, sire? Really, are you? Shouldn't we stop and make camp before sundown, sir? The younger guardsman is jittery and demanding, with a stooped posture that reminds me of a rat. His round face is marred by pock marks and worry lines. That's a word I've not heard before, pock marks. Pock marks? It's fun to say, though. No need, we're making good on time. The other guard, as old and large as a cabin wall, has a deep, crusty voice well suited for his frame. I once saw him struggle to fit through a door. Funny. The pock-marked guard glances towards the horizon line, gritting his teeth. But sire, or sir, why do I keep saying sire? Enough. We will be rid of her today. Be rid of me? Like being rid of some piss-stained rug? How rude. What did I ever do to warrant such objectification? Feeling vexed, I continued to groan and yowl against the hemp between my teeth. It's inarticulate. Brain, work with me here. It's inarticulate and far from the most graceful sound I've ever made, but I make it sound increasingly urgent. Noise and more noise. One of them pulls the reins on his horse, dismounting with a dull, armored clatter like a rattling dish cabinet. This, is very descriptive. It's the younger one. Good. He approaches me, muttering swears as he reaches back to yank the gag from my head. What, convict? What is it now? What did I do? You're all ingrates, you hear me? Low-browed, barbaric boneheads, a lot of you, start screaming. I'm gonna go with most people buy me a drink before they bring out the gag. Most people buy me a drink before they bring out the gag. Stop it. He hisses the words low under his breath, though his ears glow a traitorous shade of tomato red. It wasn't funny the first time, and it won't be funny the next time. There won't even be a next time at the rate we're going. I can say it again pretty fast, I think. Gods, you really haven't learned your lesson. What's wrong with you? He almost sounds amazed. If my hands were untied, I'd twirl my wrists and do a curtsy. So, instead, I sidled up to him, reaching out to brush my knuckles near his waistband. What's wrong? I wager you know exactly what's wrong. I just realized it says me, a prisoner. So we haven't gotten her name yet. I was under the impression we moved past ritualistic sacrifice as a civilization, you see. I thought we were better than all this. Yet here you knuckleheads are, dragging me through the woods to feed me to a godforsaken vampire. I stomp on a branch when I get close enough. The ensuing crack obscures the sound as I unsheath the dagger from his belt. I palm it under my sleeve in a quick motion, hoping my ruse goes unnoticed. The guard stumbles away from me. He draws his sword to keep me at bay, not his stores. He doesn't have a store right now. You keep away, you heretic. Don't come near me. I raise my bound wrists in front of my chest, widening my eyes to look appropriately frightened. And I still have his dagger. By the time he clambers back onto his horse, his older companion extends his arm and smacks the back of the young guardsman's head. Idiot. Now we have to listen to her belly aching for the rest of the journey. Do we? The younger guard rubs his head, sounding defensive. She's caused nothing but trouble. Why not slit her throat and be done with it? Let the wildlife take care of the remains. Oh, the old guard hits him again. I'd find humor in this slapstick routine if they weren't discussing my imminent demise. Shush, boy. We carry Her Majesty's order to the letter, you and I. No shortcuts. You know the severity of our laws. Underhanded practice will cost you your own damn hands. Oh, so we're back in those days, huh? The pockmarked guard hunches further at the shoulders. His eyes dart around like he wants to argue, but he begrudgingly clamps his mouth shut. I, on the other hand, have a dodged penchant for making my observations known, and I'm blessed with quick retorts. I am not, though, so... Or it just costs the fingers if you're lucky, I notice our wise old man here is missing a digit or two. I raise my restrained palms, wiggling my fingers. They glower balefully at me. I've seen actual battlefields, harlot. Do not liken me to your crooked, bar-brawling ilk. Convict, heretic, now a harlot. Wonderful. I roll my eyes and wrinkle my nose at him. I'll bet anything that old man is lying. Alluvia hasn't waged any wars in the past half-century. I hope I said that right. Furthermore, he boasted to my jailers that he's been assigned to this post for the brunt of his service to the crown. But I know better than to push my luck with him. He's more prone to violence than the other guardsmen. I used to lag behind at the start of our journey, defiant and stubborn. The old one never hesitated to yank the rope around my wrists, lurching me right into brambles and sharp stones. Defying him, I learned, meant having scraped palms and knees at best. When do we get to meet the vampire? Our pace carefully slows as we cross over a mossy log and a series of thick, tangled roots for the horse's stake, of course, rather than mine. I work my jaw in silence for a while, keeping measured distance behind them. My grip on the dagger is unwieldy and clumsy. Aiming it toward my bonds is trickier than I imagined. I flinch to the point it jabs against my inner arm, but shoot the guards a winning smile when they turn to look at me. So, good old cursed forest, eh? Did you volunteer to escort prisoners through the blighted brush, or was it a inherited post? Father's father and such? The pockmarked guard scoffs and mimics my words under his breath. Nothing to fear in these old woods, lass, not if you're properly armed. Nothing but bears and wolves. People steer clear because they fear what lies in wait beyond. Surely you know that much. The men don't deign to tell me how they were assigned their roles. None of my business, I suppose. An overhead canopy of leaves parts, allowing patches of sunlight to heat my scalp and cheek. The journey has been long and exhausting, but not altogether difficult. I'd even consider it idyllic from its perpetual backdrop of birdsong and distantly running water. Holy crap, that was a lot for me to say. Any sense of leisure sinks and coils at the pit of my stomach as I realize the birds have gone silent and the sound of water has risen into a dull roar. Before us is a murky disk of water, blemished green with algae, miles long, miles wide, and horrifyingly uncertain depth. I don't think I said that right, but okay, we'll go with it. A jagged, ostentatious estate protruding from the ground like a sword through someone's back looms across the water's expanse. Not the first decrepit castle I've seen in my travels, but perhaps it may be my last. That's where I'll be staying then? Home sweet home? Shit, I've barely shorn through a quarter of my restraints. Even if I make a break for it now, they'd run me down on horseback. I tried it before, back when they marched me through the greater plains. They nearly trampled me into paste. Quiet down, you sorry lass. You may wish to take this time to consider your last words. That's not a bad idea. I could hit you with a real zinger before I go. The old guard groans, mumbling a bitter prayer. I barely have time to hide the dagger before he dismounts and shoves me with more force than necessary. He loads me unceremoniously into a ramshackled little boat, leaving the pockmarked guard to deal with me while he tends to the horses. Uh-oh. My breath catches when the remaining guard takes the seat opposite to me, his gawky movements nearly making the boat capsize before we've even left the shore. The boat cuts through the algae like a knife. Gross. Over the dry land, the old guardsman takes a heavy seat in the grass as he watches the sun descend. It's more of a serene view than he deserves. I take a deep breath and open my mouth to shout. Do I get to decide what I say, you old bastard? Overgrown prune? Uh, sure. Let's go with that. The young guard bites back a chuckle and clears his throat. I suppose he's freer to find revelry now that we're in a safe distance away. As I warily crane my neck around, I observe how the water completely surrounds the estate. That makes this a moat, but there curiously isn't a drawbridge in sight. At its northwest and westward edge, the moat connects to a river. Following one side will likely lead one straight to the Rebuffian Ocean, I think that's how it's said. It's quite lovely, really, to be surrounded by such a wealth of natural water. Shame I never learned how to swim. You don't know how to swim? How? I don't suppose I can persuade you to ferry me over yonder all the way around the estate on the other side of the shore? The guard elects not to reply. He won't even look at me now. Aside from the oars carving into the water, the remaining boat ride is hushed and nerve-wracking. I sit up straight and stock still, trying to keep my weight centered despite the stinging insects nipping at my neck and ankles. Oh, gross. Mosquitoes are the worst. The sun turns red as it dips closer to the horizon. It takes half an hour to reach the other side, if not longer. Behind the lip of the water is a carved ledge with a pit of trenches surrounding the estate's perimeter. Ooh. The guard wastes no time, forcing me upright and pushing me off to the side. I fall into a roll, barely cushioned by the impact of grassy mud. I aim myself back up with effort, ready to yell the insult boiling at the tip of my tongue. To my surprise, the young guard is still up there, lingering at the edge. Why? Miss me already? Hesitating doesn't make you better than him. Yes, miss me already? I quirk my head to the side and bat my eyelashes at him. His response is slow and deliberate. I won't even remember you by tomorrow. I hardly know you, convict, and you don't even know my name. Who needs names? We're two ships passing in the night, you and I. But it's not too late to change that, We could still run off into the sunset together. Come on, help me up. With the sun setting behind the guardsman. Silver tongue. I got that as an achievement. Holy crap. With the sun setting behind the guardsman, his features are cast in unreadable shadow. His fingers twitch and tap at his side. He casts an uneasy glance over his shoulder before finally he grumbles and rummages through his overcoat. From it he pulls out the neck of a familiar instrument and throws it onto the ground with me. I cry out as my lute lands in the mud, nearly falling onto my own shoulder as I reach and fail to catch it. You'll owe me in your next life, convict. I hope this accursed thing provides you some comfort in your final moments. I glare up at him. Old guy made you nervous, didn't he? All that talk about cutting off hands for being underhanded? Shut up. I knew you were acting jumpy for a reason. I just knew it. You were gonna pawn off my poor little beauty here, but now you don't want to risk getting caught with it. Harlot. He spits at me before he hurries away. I listen for the sound of the boat sloshing in the water and then the creak of the oars shortly thereafter. Now, why is it that when people don't know how else to argue with a woman, they must remark on how frequently she has had sex? With effort, I dislodge the dagger from the inside of my sleeve. It's still unwieldy, but cutting myself loose is a little easier when I don't have to hide the blade from my captors. Okay. Oh, her stuff's torn. I pick up my lute, carefully wiping off the dirt and grime before I check and adjust its string. It's cute. I holster it across my back where it belongs. It's thankfully intact, but I'm not sure how I can say the same about myself. You look kind of okay to me, if not with a little scratching on your face, but I know I need to come up with a plan. I need to explore and get familiar with my surroundings, seek out a hiding spot while there's still daylight. But my entire body is aching. I won't get far if I push myself to move now. I check the inside of my clothes for the last of my possessions, kept safe and hidden under my lining. I've never been more grateful to have learned invisible stitching. Oh, a handful of coins in my songwriting journal are all I have left. I had a hidden number of small blades on my person, but I was too reckless in my previous escape attempts. I kept getting caught and they confiscated all my knives. This guardman's dagger isn't too shabby, at least. I tuck the blade into my belt, careful not to poke myself. I'll be ready to use it when it's dark. The ledge I fell from casts a long shadow. I edge away from it into the remaining light and I concentrate on taking a deep, rejuvenating breath. Plural. I did not read it as plural, but it was supposed to be plural. This creature of the night, I've heard it can change its very shape if it pursues me in the form of some animal. I doubt I can outrun it for long. It's wisest to save my strength so I can battle whatever form it takes. After all, I'm determined not to go down easily. Hell yeah. We ain't going down without a fight. Chapter 2. Whatever that first word is. I think this is a pretty good place to stop. If you enjoy my content, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye!